You really can't change the world alone. You have to have the team with you. You have to be able to work really hard and be able to want to become something different and something better. The idea is that you can own your own future. I never imagined people could be so brave. I'm Syrian American in the true sense of the word, in that I lived half my life in the US and half my life in Syria. The Syrian community traditionally is very highly educated. I studied architecture at the University of Aleppo. So I'm an architect by training. My parents are both physicians. They are from Aleppo. I could trace back multi-generations of my family, go and walk right up to the home where my great-great-grandfather lived. In 2011, you begin to watch the Arab Spring, and you begin to see people on the streets in Syria protesting peacefully, and you know that they're basically risking their lives in order to chant freedom and dignity. It was a dangerous time, but I did not want to stay silent. I wrote a 12-piece diary because I felt that people needed to know what was happening, and I didn't want to put people in danger. So I created a pseudonym. Her name was Hanano. Amal actually means hope in Arabic. Stories from my own family of how they fled, ordinary citizens, stories of the white helmets. Suddenly I was writing and publishing in all different kinds of publications. I think I published about 70 pieces over the past 5.5 years. I did come out with my real name in 2014. The reason why I wanted to write about what was happening is because I wanted to have a record for my daughters so that they can go back to this moment and know that their mother wasn't silent. The thing about the Syrian humanitarian crisis is that the scale of it is something that we haven't seen since World War II. All 24 million Syrians have been affected by this crisis. It was always, oh, it's going to be over in a few months, it's going to be over in a few months. We're now 7 years into a conflict, and the long-term solutions have to be dealt with, else we're going to end up with a completely lost generation. We are almost a memory of the country itself. We did this project where we read the names of the dead in front of the White House for 72 hours straight. We call it the How Many More Project. We want to make sure that people were remembering that these numbers have real people and names behind them. It's not an easy decision for a family to decide to leave their homes. But when you're facing airstrikes constantly every single day, when your neighbors are dying, when you no longer have access to health care, to sometimes food, to education, then you're going to leave. Every Syrian wants to go back home. I want to go back home. I want to see my home in Aleppo again. The Syrian crisis has challenged all of the assumptions that we've had on what a refugee is and what a refugee can be. You just can't put a blanket statement on all refugees as being the same. People, for instance, on the southern border of Turkey are very different than refugees, for instance, in Istanbul, are very different from refugees that arrived to Europe, are different from refugees who have arrived to America. Nobody wants to be portrayed as a victim. And you see that so much in how refugees are portrayed in the media, and that takes their dignity away. These kids who have been refugees 5 years, especially the younger ones, they're not having access to education. They're not having access to proper health care. They don't remember a Syria without war.
وانت كنت عم تحس بهالشي شفته بعيونك ولا؟ وحسيت بالرجة؟
حسيت أكيد إيه. هسه نزلني صاروخة قدام دارنا.
انت شفتي؟
بس ما تفجرني. صاروخ ورا دارنا تفجر.
In 2011, when the Syrian crisis began and it quickly became a humanitarian crisis, for me that was a huge pivotal moment in my life. The Karam Foundation is a nonprofit organization that I co-founded in Chicago. It's focused on helping Syrian refugee children build a better future for themselves. Education is the most important thing, to be able to have something to build your future upon. Collecting a wide range of skills and knowledge, and that can be translated to all different sorts of opportunities in the future. This is what we're trying to instill in them, because when we tell them these things, it's literally like they had no idea that this world existed. Our idea was that we would have these creative mission trips and basically inspire kids. On our first mission in 2013, mentors came from around the world. We had artists, writers, journalists, dentists. We built a soccer field in the camp. We had a full dental hygiene mission for 500 kids. We had arts, we had storytelling. But when we got back and people saw the pictures from this mission, everybody was asking, when are you going back? I want to go on the next trip. And so we started designing the next mission trip that was going to happen that November in 2013. By that time, it was too dangerous to enter Syria and cross the border. So we worked in a town called Hanano, which was the town right across the Syrian border. We worked in a refugee school that had 1,200 kids. And that was the beginning of us going and working with this community. And they're urban refugees, meaning they don't live in a formal camp setting. The only place I practice architecture is actually my own workshop that I do with the kids, which is called Mapping Memories. So I teach them how to draw the floor plan of their homes by drawing the floor plan of my home in Aleppo. And the idea is that you can build your future home. And I'm always attracted to the idea of remembering your home in Syria. And it's very, a very moving exercise for me and for the kids to remember Syria, and then also looking towards the future to build their dream home or design their dream city. We started going back every 6 months to Hanano. We also realized the importance of consistency, and going back to the same place, to the same community, just shows people that we're there for them. And it builds such an important bond and trust between the organization and the community that we serve. The second phase of the missions is called the Karam House, which is a place for the Syrian refugee teens to have access to these skills and the technology, providing these kinds of very innovative, high-tech opportunities and skills for Syrian refugee teens, and the mentorship year-round instead of it being mission-based twice a year. Imagine that you're a teenager and you're a refugee and you've witnessed trauma and you probably have missed some of your schooling and you're living in a strange place. Imagine for you to have a kind of space that's safe, a space of healing, a space that's social, be a place where I can go and discover myself. I mean, that's something that every teenager around the world needs. The most important thing is that we want kids to be able to heal from their trauma, to be able to be inspired, and for them to understand that they can do anything. This is the essence of our work, is that we want these kids and the refugees that we help to understand and know that being a refugee is not what defines them, that they really have a future ahead of them. It's become very important for kids and for young adults to be able to have the power to tell their own stories. They begin to open up, to believe that they actually have the power to become whatever they want to be, because they have to see you living it too. We are in constant evolution. We are co-authoring our organization and our programs with the community. We are listening to them, they are listening to us, and we are evolving our programming every single time to make it better and to make it work better and be more effective and impactful. The road is really tough, and there's going to be a lot of failure, and there's going to be a lot of heartbreak, and there's going to be things that happen that you didn't expect, but nobody's going to come and give you a solution on a silver platter. Nothing is more powerful for a child or a teenager to show them, I was exactly like you, I was on this path, and I did this. You have to be able to work really hard and be able to want to become something different and something better and own your own future, and I did it. And then you just see them kind of accept the responsibility of the challenge.